I think I'm going to burn a few bridges today, so let's get into it. Hello, friends. Welcome back into John's Comics with Kids. I'm John, and I am usually not one to court controversy. And I thought about this topic a lot as something that I wanted to figure out a way to discuss without, setting fire to too many bridges. This is our discussion around, are there wrong ways to collect, specifically comics, but collecting anything really? This is a big topic, one that has a ton of facets. And we'll get into the nitty gritty, get into the weeds on a few details here, but I'm going to start with the simple answer. And the simple answer, in my opinion, is no, that there are no wrong ways to collect. You do you, brother. Like I'm not telling you that you have to do it this way. And I think people that do tell you that, I get a little wary of people when they tell me this is collecting and it only is this way and it's this narrow definition. And I don't feel that way. So that's my simple short answer. If all you wanted from this was John's short answer to this hot button topic, you've got it. If you want the details, let's talk a little bit about some things, because there are some big ideas here. And I've seen a lot of videos I've only almost been doing this for 7 years, 6 years. There's a lot of videos out there, a lot of content around this topic, and I want to get into some of my feelings on it. First up, what is collecting? Because this definition is where people usually have a problem. Collecting is buying something that adds to your collection, something you want to keep and have. It can be anything, right? Whatever it is you want to collect. It is not, in my opinion, including resale. The second you're including resale, it's a different category. Now you're talking about investing, or you're talking about some other aspect of business beyond collecting. And that's, I think, the sticking point for a lot of people is, are there wrong ways to do investing? Yes. Are there wrong ways to consider resale? Absolutely. Are there wrong ways to consider collecting? No. And that's because those things are different, in my opinion. And there's a lot of interaction between the two, but I don't think they're the same in any way. Are there wrong ways to create content? I suppose. It depends on your goal, right? If I'm just trying to make comic book content because it's fun and I want to interact with my friends, there's no wrong way to do it. I can make it as poor as possible. The sound can be awful. The lighting could be horrible, and nobody's going to care, because I'm not trying to become a successful YouTuber, right? Inversely, if I was trying to become a successful YouTuber, there are wrong ways to go about it. I want to consider my microphone and my camera and my lighting and all those kinds of things. It's the same on the collecting side for me. There are no wrong ways to collect because it is a solitary activity. I certainly don't want to overspend, but that's me and my money, right? If I overspend on that key book and it brings me joy, that's not a screw up. You might feel like I screwed up, but it's my money, my collection. So, as the British would say, bugger off, right? Like, it doesn't matter. So, let's talk about the wrong ways to sell books. There are flaws in that, right? There are ways to mess up as an investor. If I bought a giant size X-Men 1, took it out of the bag and board raw and threw it in a box somewhere, tossed it into a pile with the thought of reselling it later, yeah, that's a screw up. I want that book pressed, cleaned, slabbed, so that I can get the highest amount of resale value out of it, right? That's a sales mentality, a business mentality, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But that's not collecting. So to tell someone that they're doing something wrong with their collection, that's when it gets to be tricky for me, because if I'm buying that giant size and it's just for me and I'm putting in a pile and I'm happy with it in the pile, that's my book. That's my money. That's my foolish decision, as it were, but it's not wrong because it's my collection. And I think that's an important distinguishing element that I think a lot of people skip over when they have these discussions, right? Same with slabbing. Let's talk a little bit about this, because this is the bigger, maybe, umbrella topic with what's going on with CGC these days and grading. And I know there's a lot of trepidation around the concept of slabbing. is slabbing inherently not collecting, right? Because I can't read that book, does that mean I'm not a collector? It might mean I'm not a reader. If I just buy slabbed books and collect them, never sell them, and never read them, you could argue I'm not a reader, but does that make me not a collector? I don't think it does. I think that person is a collector, that they are collecting those things, right? It's like someone who collects teacups not drinking out of them. I mean, they don't have to. They don't have to have drunk out of those teacups to get the joy of having that collection, right? And I think it's the same with slabbing. Collect the way you want to collect. If you want those books encapsulated and you want them to be displayed, what have you, those are your books. Those are your collection. That is your money that you worked hard for. So for me, I see no distinguishing mark. Run collecting is the same idea. The concept of run collecting seems to be fading out, and I'm sad about that because I do collect a lot of runs and I like run collecting. There's a bunch of them in my short boxes, but I also understand space is limited, money is limited. Making a choice for your collection is individual, and if you just want those key first appearances, or you want those storylines within a run that make sense or are important to you, or if you can't afford the first few books in a run that's lasted, like Action Comics, well over 1,000 issues, fine. That's that. Obviously, you need to collect for you. So, does that mean if I don't have any runs in my collection, I'm not a collector? I would say no, that you're still collecting the way you want with your money. I would love it if more people collected runs because that would be a storybook collector, right? A reader. And I think that's another discussion, right? You've got people that want to make a business out of this. You got people that want to love the stories and want to read everything. And then you've got collectors, and they're somewhere in the middle, perhaps. And they're distinct, different groups. And you don't have to judge one versus the other. Is somebody not a collector because all they collect are omnibus and they've just got shelves of omnibus? I would argue that they're just as much a collector as anybody. They just don't collect the way you do. There's a difference, and that's fine. What if they're not even reading those? Well, then they're not in the reader category. Maybe they're reading them only digitally. These are not flaws. They're just differences. And I think we need to be a little more understanding that differences exist, and that's fine, as long as they're not harming you in some way. And that's where the selling side comes back into play, right? If that person threw that giant size X-Men in a corner wants to resell it and that book's been damaged, you might be disappointed by the price they're asking, right? And now it's impacting you, but it wasn't impacting you when they were just collecting it. But when they want to resell it and they've got a vision in mind as far as what the book is worth, there's a discrepancy now. And that's because of money, right? The business side rears its ugly head. So for me, I go round and round on this, and I've seen a bunch of really great educated live streams on these topics, and I think they're always really valuable. I love hearing people's thoughts on these things, and I've got friends on all sides of the spectrum. My buddy Mike Sove Collector is a hardcore anti-slabber, and I love him. I think he's amazing, and I think his knowledge is incredible. He's probably one of the most well-read comic fans that I know. But his vision for what a collector is more aligned with like Morbius comics, right? And his view of like, no, you should not have slabs. That slabs are not books. And I think that's because they have such a passion for the reading side, right? Where I'm definitely a reader first as well, and I loved having that run and being able to flip through those issues and pull out the one that I want, or grab that omnibus off the shelf and flip to that story that I want to read, or open the app and read it. Reading is where I come in first to this whole hobby. But it doesn't mean I don't have a different way of collecting. Obviously, I don't know what I'm at now. Two, four, I think I've got 6 short boxes of slabs in my collection at this point. And I may need another at some point, because some of these books I'm buying are old enough that I want them, if I'm buying them from a reseller or somebody that I don't see in person, I want to make sure that the book is of a certain grade, of a certain quality. And as best I can, that's an arbiter in the middle between me and the seller, right? Um, and I also want to protect those books that are really old, those older Silver Age books that mean a lot to me, that I don't necessarily want to put my fingers on. I'd rather pick up that omnibus and read them. So reading comes first to me. And I do have slabs, but they're not what I'm always after. Usually what I'm after is the book itself, right? But then there's the investment side. And I do occasionally want to make sure that if I want to resell a book or give a book away, that somebody's getting their value for it. If I'm trading you, like I've got a 9.6 first appearance of Beta Ray Bill in a newsstand that I've long felt I want to trade. I want to get rid of at some point. I want to make sure that the person who gets that book feels confident of what they're getting. Having it be encapsulated allows me that. So again, the business side versus the collector versus the reader. And I think these are very distinct facets that most collectors have have a little bit of all of that. All of us imagine the day we can sell off a short box and recoup money from our investment. I think most of us have a collection of books that we really care about, and most of us read. So we're all in these three facets, but how deeply are we in each of them? That's the question, right? How far do we go in this hobby for each one of those variants? I would love to hear your thoughts. Uh, this is a topic that's ongoing for me, and I have another piece of the puzzle for next week where I want to compare two different types of collectors that I would love to hear your thoughts on as well. But let me know, where do you see yourself as a collector? Are you primarily a reader first? Are you a collector first? I've got friends that only collect, never read, and never resell. So they are strictly in the collector status, but not in the other two. And I've got friends that are mainly in the resale. They're buying these collections so that they can resell them. And occasionally they'll buy a really great grail they want to keep for themselves. But the collector side is very tiny for them. The business side is higher, right? So let me hear from you. I'd love to hear where you fit into this paradigm. And let me know, am I way off base here? Am I stirring up a controversy that doesn't need to exist? Because I know that there's a lot of great opinions out there, and I don't necessarily claim in any way to be the arbiter of truth, but maybe just my truth. Let's say thank you to the channel members, obviously the people that make this all possible, those friends who are giving up of a little bit of money to support me. I really do appreciate them. And at the end of every month, I give away a mystery box to somebody in that group. Some great variants. I got that Dr. Doom, John Tyler, Christopher, One World Under Doom variant going out this next round. So lots of goodies going out every month. And then I am very close to 3,000 subscribers. I want to say I'm like 80 something away. So getting near the end, I'm pulling together some slabs, some keys. I want to do several giveaways for hitting 3,000 subscribers here on YouTube. So thank you to those of you that are involved in the channel in any way, commenting, liking, watching, subscribing, joining. All of those things are appreciated. How I'm going to do it, this is the little thank you for sticking around to the end. I will have a live stream after I hit 3,000, and I will give away stuff to people in the chat who are there live. I'll give away a prize to the channel members. I'll spin the wheel of the channel members and give something away to them. And I'll do another giveaway. And this is one I only mention at the end of my videos. If you've left a comment on certain videos, I will also spin the names for those. This video counts. So leaving a comment on this video, you are entered to possibly win one of the prizes that I give away. As the deadline gets closer, I'll start showing off some of the books I'm giving away, but it'll be several great prize packs and hopefully something that you really appreciate. So leave me a comment and you will be included on the little wheel at the end of the show. So thanks everybody for hanging around, and I hope to see you all again soon.